Hello. Let's start out by understanding what we mean by corporate scope. To do this, we first need to revisit our definition of corporate strategy. What we mean by corporate strategy, of course, is the pursuit of competitive advantage through the configuration and coordination of a company's multi-business activities. So when we think about multiple businesses or multiple activities, it is only natural to ask what businesses or activities a company is actually operating in. And that is exactly what we mean by corporate scope. And corporate scope is one of the central topics, and it's usually the first topic in any serious discussion of corporate strategy. So then, what exactly is corporate scope? What we are talking about here is quite simply the overall footprint of the company. What activities and businesses is the company engaged in, and how should they be managed? Typically, when thinking about corporate scope, there are three key dimensions along which corporate scope may vary. So the three dimensions of corporate scope are vertical, horizontal, and geographic. What stages of the value chain or network is the firm in, what range of product or services, and where in the world does it compete. The geographic dimension is one that requires a somewhat different approach, which you will see in our international strategy module. So I will focus here primarily on vertical and horizontal scope. And I want to highlight for you that these are real choices that companies make all the time. Take the case of vertical scope. For example, PepsiCo acquired most of its bottlers in 2009. And that's a very clear example of a company changing its vertical scope. It added another stage of activity to its business from within its value chain. And by the way, Coca-Cola also did something very similar soon after in 2010. We call this type of change in vertical scope forward integration, as I will explain shortly. And here's an example of changes in a company's horizontal scope. GE, or General Electric, the company that is Thomas Edison's legacy, has for a very long time operated in many different industries. But that configuration of industries or businesses has also changed a lot over time. Take GE in 2001 under CEO Jack Welch. GE was at that time very active in its financial services business, GE Capital, credit cards, consumer banking, trading financial assets, investing in real estate, project financing and leasing. GE Capital did it all. The company was also in television and media through its NBC subsidiary and in the plastics and appliances business. By 2019, under CEO Larry Culp, even though the overall company is roughly the same size and revenues, GE had become a very different company. Capital had shrunk to a very tiny sliver of the overall company, focused only on a few core activities. Instead, other businesses like power systems and aviation have grown a lot. GE is no longer in the media business, for example, nor is it in plastics or in appliances. Instead, it has a new renewable energy business. Its healthcare business has also become a lot bigger. All of this is a result of strategic actions that the company has taken. These are very deliberate strategic actions. The 2008 financial crisis put a lot of stress on GE Capital, and the company got rid of many parts of that business. It also sold many of its other businesses to raise cash and began to focus on a core set of businesses that it really cared about. Some businesses like renewable and power were added to through acquisitions and invested in quite heavily.